Hello, everybody. Happy April 21st, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, we have the head coach of the boys basketball program of Fairfield Prep, Mike Papale. Coach Papale, thanks so much for being able to come on today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to do this.
Hey, I've been looking forward to having you on. Once I talked to Coach Hickey, and he said, "Hey, you got to get Coach Papale on. You got to get him on." I'm like, "Okay, I'll get him on. Don't worry."
That's why Coach Hickey's the best, man. That's why he's the best.
No, Coach Hickey, I've known him since he was at Albertus because I still follow
Mhm,
my former college, which
mhm,
they're a fantastic basketball program. But
mhm.
Hickey being able to take his knowledge all the way now to Fairfield, both you and Coach Hickey, that's kind of like a young coaching staff that people really have to watch for, the two up and coming stars in high school basketball.
Yeah, I think we're lucky. I mean, Coach Hickey's great. He's going to be a head coach someday. Selfishly, I hope it's for him. I want it to be as soon as possible. But selfishly, of course, I want him to be with us because he's great. We're lucky. We have a great staff, man. Like my dad joined our staff. He's got two decades of high school basketball. He was actually the head coach of Albertus Magnets for 3 years. Back he won a couple GNACs, did it for 3 years, and then got out. He's on our staff. We have another younger guy, Matt Pascuzzo, that played at Springfield, who's been a tremendous asset. And then we have our freshman job. People don't realize how important a freshman job is in high school basketball. And we have a guy, the teacher in the school named Jack Wallace, who's tremendous. And we have another guy that helps him out named Mike Mulquin, who played at Villanova for Raleigh Massimino. So
Not too bad.
um, we're lucky, man. We have a good group of guys. We all have different personalities, but they all mesh together really well, which is nice.
And it's shown you came along last year, was your first year after taking over for the historic Coach
Mm-hmm.
Redgate, who, as we all know, and people who may not know, was a fantastic coach at Fairfield Prep,
Mm-hmm.
really brought that program back to the playoffs, championship games,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, et cetera. So big shoes to fill. But in your
Yeah.
first 2 years, I have to admit, Coach Papale, 13-6 your first year, and then 11-9 your second year. Now, your first year, you had a lot of seniors. Your
Mm-hmm.
second year was a little bit more on the younger side, but you
Mm-hmm.
still were able to qualify for the playoffs. You beat
Mm-hmm.
Trumbull 58-37, and because of the whole quarantine and the virus and everything, you were not able to play against Sacred Heart, in which would have been a rematch. But to go back to my original point, for what you've done your first 2 years, pretty good, Coach. I'd have to say, Coach Valley.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I consider myself kind of lucky. When I got in the job, we had eight or nine hungry seniors that really wanted to win, and they were competitive and they were tough, and our personalities were kind of like an instant match, and it worked out really, really well. And we got hot. We won some good games, and we had an 8-game win streak in the middle of the year, and we had a good year, and we were really happy with it. And leading into this year, to be honest, I thought the first third of the season for me was a bit of a learning experience. Like any head coach, if I could go back and do the first day of tryouts up until about I don't know, January 15th or around there, I would do it all over. Um, for a lot of reasons, but we're lucky. We have really good kids at prep, and we were 2-5 at one point this year, and the season, like any season, can get really good or really bad really quick. And it was right on the verge of being really bad. We changed everything we were doing one day, completely changed it up, and the kids had the choice of either being like, forget this, or let's buy into this, and thankfully that's what they did. And because it wasn't a fun change for them, it was tough, brutal, long, hard-nosed practices every single day, whether it was before a game, after a game, and they bought into it. And eventually, the results started changing, which was great. It kind of showed how much they bought into what we were trying to do.
But that just gives you, kudos to you and the rest of the coaching staff for being able to find what, in some ways, what gets players to tick. Because
Mm-hmm.
I've always believed, and I've been broadcasting now since 2011, and I've talked to a bunch of coaches, and it seems like the great ones find a way to be able to get what ticks players, what gets them going.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about the struggles in your first year, and surprisingly enough, I wrote in my book last year when you played against Sacred Heart, from January 9th to January 31st, your team had 9 wins. So you
Yeah.
must have had something going on there. And then you mentioned this year with the struggles that you had, and then the hard-nosed practices. I'm not saying getting in their face, but just motivating them, getting them to believe. That both you and the staff deserve a lot of credit for that.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I think as a coach, you got to get kids to believe that you have, number one, their best interest in mind. You care about them, and you obviously have to be hard on kids and push them to be the best versions of themselves they can be. But you also got to show the other side of yourself too, as I think we all do a really good job of. When practice starts, we're in a pretty serious mode, and the guys know that. And then when practice ends, we're kind of in a fun, joking mode, and it works. So again, I'm lucky. I coach really good kids, which helps. But
Mhm.
they buy into, and they know my personality at this point, and they know when it's time to be really serious and when it's time to be a little looser.
And although the season ended very abruptly, we're not able to have the rematch with Sacred Heart. Looking at it now, because obviously with us being quarantined, we have enough time in the world to be able to reflect on everything except maybe when we were 1 and 2 years old. But
Yeah,
do you think that now, because a year plus, you could say 2 years, we'll say 2 years, two
yeah.
years of coaching for Fairfield Prep, you feel like your vision of the program is starting to be what you thought when you first were hired, or do you feel like you are still a couple years away from that?
No, I think we're getting to it. I think we were there. I think the team that you saw for the last 15 games of our season this year, we went
Mhm.
11-4 in our last 15, and I think the team that you saw is the team that I want to be representing Fairfield Prep and what our staff wants to be representing Fairfield Prep.
Mhm.
Um, and it's easy, it's what I said when I got the job, um, and it's what happened last year. It's not what happened for the first 7 games of this year, and it's something that will happen going forward. And I think, again, I learned a lot personally as a head coach. I think our staff learned a lot, and I think our kids learned a lot, and they were able to see kind of what formula equals success. So I'm pretty happy with where it's at right now.
What was the difference between last year and this year? Was it the fact because seniors last year in your first year to younger kids the second year, and you kind of were
Mhm.
relying more on those younger kids to kind of step up? Or was it just the normal, year to year, there's always going to be a changeover and a difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think youth definitely has something to do with it. I mean, I look at our team this year. We played 2 seniors, 3 juniors, 4 sophomores, and a freshman majority of varsity minutes. And of those guys, yeah, I mean, 3 of them played significant varsity minutes last year. So, and we have really talented young kids, and I knew that, and our staff knew that. But it doesn't matter. I mean, going from playing at 3:45 as a freshman or playing at 5:15 to playing at 7 o'clock, it's a big difference, and especially for a sophomore. And so, yeah, I definitely think youth had something to do with it. Again, I think getting our level of toughness and fight and determination and pride to where I wanted it to be took longer than I wish it did. Um, and that's not a knock on the kids, because the kids have it in them. I knew the kids had it in them, but it's our job to bring it out of them. And you know, but again, after that 7 game start, we started to get it out of them.
It looks like that things are on the right track with the program. It seems to be the way it's going. Both you and the rest of the coaching staff really kind of have the bricks to be able to kind of build the house. So we'll see what happens going forward. But it looks like, as I said, the future is bright for Fearful Prep. But let's now kind of go back to you a little bit, Coach. I know
Hmm.
behind you, you have In a Heartbeat. That is something that I'm sure I'd like you to be able to talk about because
Yeah.
you came up with it. You actually, and if people are watching this, on the left side, right behind your head, it'll be on your right side, sudden cardiac arrest. The reason why I go to that is because you suffered a cardiac arrest. You suffered something where you didn't even remember
Hmm.
until later on. And before I come to you real quick, I just want to say when I was reading your article, and by the way, I read it twice because it was that touching. It really kind of got to me. The part that really kind of opened up the okay, I'm about to be reading something pretty serious
Hmm.
is the day I died.
Hmm.
Go right into that.
Yeah. So, I'll give you a quick background. Yeah, I was a high school basketball player. I was getting recruited to play in college. And the reason I tell that is not because obviously I want to brag to people I was going to play basketball in college, but I was a typical kid, like the kid that you watch play every night. Never in 1 second did my family or I think that I could possibly have something wrong with my heart. I trained at a really high level, went to all my doctor's appointments, was healthy, normal guy. On August 24th, 2006, I woke up in the morning with my younger brother. I was 17, he was 13. We went over and we did like a basketball workout at 6 a.m. with one of our friends. Workout was completely normal, completely fine. Nothing really stood out. After the workout, we went over to my dad's basketball camp at the Park and Recreation Center here in Wallingford. At 8 o'clock when I walked in, I don't remember anything after that. At 10:30, I was sitting on the bleachers next to my best friend, and I slumped forward and kind of just face planted. My brother was running up and down the court, and I went into cardiac arrest. And real quick, the only way you can survive cardiac arrest is you have to get immediate CPR, and you have to be quickly shocked by an automated external defibrillator. Unfortunately, I didn't get CPR right away because nobody really knew what to do. And the building I was in did not have an automated external defibrillator in it. I was lucky that when they called 911, there was a man in his office next door, and he got the pager. He was a volunteer EMT, so he had his pager on. He heard the call come through, and he came and gave me CPR perfectly until an ambulance came, and they ran in with an AED, and they shocked me. I have a heart condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a disease I was born with. Essentially, it's excessive thickening of the heart muscle. And the point I'm getting at is, obviously I'm fine and I'm healthy now, but heart disease affects young people so much. Like 7,000 youth each year suffer sudden cardiac arrest across the United States, which is an astonishing number. And hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is the leading cause of death amongst student athletes. And my family didn't know that. And that's part of what we do is we want to make sure people understand that it's not just the stereotypical older, out of shape person that doesn't eat right or smokes or doesn't take care of themselves that has heart disease. It's not. That those people can, but heart disease is the number one killer in the United States, and it's still up there ahead of everything else, and it affects everybody of all ages, all genders, all races. So yeah, I'm really lucky, but it shaped my life in a way, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
I think first off, thank goodness you're alive. God bless. I think Fairfield Prep, your family, everybody are very happy that you're alive, being able to do what you want to do, being able to coach and help out the future generations of players. And I think probably, and this is something that I'm not even that familiar with. So I'm learning something as you continue to, you're teaching me something, but you mentioned something about how for a lot of athletes, a cause of death. Now, is that something that, can they be tested for this? Is this something that they can, is there any warning signs? Is there anything to that?
Yeah, good question. So couple answers. So number one, and this is an initiative that we're working on. And so we've launched a cardiac screening program. Our first screening was supposed to be May 2nd. Unfortunately, we are postponing it because of COVID-19. But essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be offering free ECGs to anyone ages 12 to 19. We actually might eventually lower that number lower than 12. So an ECG is an electrocardiogram. And basically what it can do is it's a simple, quick, painless test that can, basically studies the rhythms of the heart. And I'll use my example. I never had an ECG until after my cardiac arrest. My ECG is very abnormal. So if I would have had an ECG or electrocardiogram when I was 15 years old, doctors would have seen the abnormality most likely, and I would have been sent for further testing because it's not going to diagnose a heart disease, but it's going to see the abnormality, which is going to lead to further testing and lead to a diagnosis. So that's the first thing. So, my suggestion would be for all athletes to get ECGs. I wish ECGs were a part of a pre-participation physical. I don't think they ever will be. But again, we're hoping to expand this program throughout the state of Connecticut, starting in New Haven County and eventually going elsewhere, so we can offer it to athletes and really anybody. So that's the first part of to answer your question. The second thing, there are symptoms that people can experience that as young athletes we tend to ignore, like chest pain, like shortness of breath, like dizziness, like heart palpitations. And like excessive sweating or fainting. And the reason why we tend to ignore these as athletes is because when we're working out at a really high level, we tend to think, okay, I'm supposed to feel like this, right? I'm training I'm training at a really high level, so I'm supposed to be dizzy at the end of the day. I'm supposed to be short of breath. I'm supposed to have chest pain. We
Mhm.
never associate it with heart disease. So my suggestion would be, if you are feeling any of these symptoms, is it doesn't hurt to go get tested.
Mhm.
So at least it's going to do is hopefully it's most likely going to be negative, and you're going to go back to your normal life. And if there is something, it could possibly save your life.
If somebody, if let's say a father or a mother, or let's just say both parents, because I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
both are quarantined, if not close to it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say they're watching this interview on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, Facebook, any other social media outlet.
Yeah.
And the first question that they would ask you if they could talk to you is, how do they, and I don't want to say prevent, because I feel like it's kind of hard to prevent something like this,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you make sure that your son, or their son, their daughter, their granddaughter, somebody they know and love, can be safe, and that they're able to protect themselves from something like this?
I mean, my suggestion would be to do ECG testing every 2 years.
Okay.
And, um, these diseases, they do develop as you kind of start hitting puberty. So it's basically a snapshot in time of your heart rhythm. So my suggestion would be to call your primary care physician, tell him or her that you want your child to be tested with an EKG, and hopefully it's negative. And if it is negative, to follow up every 2 years. That would be my suggestion.
Sounds good to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I think for all of us, I think we just want to make sure our loved ones are safe. And as someone, as you've been, you lived through it, you survived, you're now doing a lot of good by being able to do certain things to make sure other people are safe. Is there anything else that people, or, that you have coming up as far as events? I know you sent me something on Facebook and I accepted it about a run, but it's going to be like a
Yeah.
virtual run. Can you
Yeah,
illuminate
again, it's a funny
that?
time because we've had to cancel some of our events just because of
Mhm.
they happen to be gatherings. And
Yeah.
we hosted we last couple of years we've hosted a nice 5K in town here in Wallingford, and we've had to transition it to a virtual 5K.
Mhm.
So it kind of stinks because we can't get everybody together in one place. But one of the benefits of it is we can get anybody from here to California to do it.
Mhm.
Um, so, it's basically just people sign up. They do their 5K between June 6th at 8 a.m. and June 7th at 8 p.m. They post their time on our Facebook, and it kind of becomes a fun thing to raise some awareness. It's not as official as our other 5Ks, but it's basically what we can do right now to help fundraise a little bit and kind of raise some awareness of what we're doing.
And also, in the same time, too, it can also allow people to get themselves more away from this COVID-19. And we don't know what's going to happen as far as the next couple of months. I mean, you and I were just talking about how every day we hear more about this virus and we know less and less rather than.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and one of the keys I think right now for everybody is making sure you're on top of your physical health and your mental health, because we are stuck inside and we're not living a life that's completely normal like we want to. Um, so it's important to make sure you take time to get outside, to run, to walk, to do things that are healthy for your mind and your body. And that's kind of another way we're promoting this is get outside with us for an hour and participate in this with us.
Well, Coach Papale, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time. I could talk with you forever. I don't want to keep you away from, your brother, and I'm sure you have other more important things to do than talk to me.
You'd be surprised, man. My life isn't that exciting.
I'm sure
I
you
enjoy
have
talking to you.
stuff going on. I'm sure
Yeah,
you.
I appreciate it.
Seriously though, I love what you're doing both on Twitter with In a Heartbeat. I love the communication you have with the coaches as well. The coaches clinics and all that. I really do think that's fantastic what you're doing to be able to kind of help out, just like what you're doing with people with this, with the cardiac arrest. You're helping people with the coaching as well.
Definitely. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on, and anytime I'd be happy to do this.
I really do appreciate it. You're always welcome to come on. Make sure you stay in touch.
Definitely. Likewise.
I'll wrap things up here on the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and stay safe.